Okay, so welcome everybody to the third in the fifth series of Jennifer's health talks. We've talked about goals and defining your status. And Jennifer is a health advocate, trainer, speaker, and living foods practitioner and mentor and coach, to name but a few. I won't read her biog out because everybody knows it by now. And as I say, we're in the third of the series. So today, Jennifer, we're talking about defining the resistance that people have. And I know we've touched on that a little bit before, but as New Year goals are sort of quite a long way behind us and completely forgotten, it was only, what, 10 weeks ago that we were all pledging to be healthier and fitter and take on new goals. That's what we're going to be focusing on today. So what do you want to say about it?
Well, I'd love to start with a story, and it's one of my journey and my journey as a health coach coming into the United States after transitioning from my time and living in Europe. And I was really enthusiastic because I had gotten a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in nutrition, and I had traveled the world studying food as medicine in the traditional means of how the grandmothers were healing their grandchildren in Greece and in France and in Germany and in Switzerland. And I had some information that I was really excited to share with people when I came to the United States, and decided to shift my career from being in the fashion industry to my passion and education, which was going to be in the health coaching industry. And I noticed that I would work with the university and present programs for lifestyle change and getting healthy. And I would give elaborate recipes and beautifully designed PDFs. And oftentimes people would say to me, well, I just don't have time to make a smoothie. And I got really frustrated because I found that the people who I was trying to help were really not sticking to the program. They really weren't doing all of the things that I knew were going to help them. And it stumped me. And when someone said to me, I don't have time to make a smoothie, that's when I realized this isn't about time at all. This is about commitment. And it led me to find coaching because I knew I couldn't make a difference with the how-to. I couldn't help people make sustainable change. And so the title of today's talk is specifically targeting a thing that means the most to me in my work. And it is creating sustainable change, because anybody can white knuckle it, willpower their way through a few weeks or a few days, or even a few months. But that's not what I'm committed to, because I know that life is not worth living without your health. As a child, they thought I had leukemia. I was in and out of the hospital for years. And it was really clear to me that health was paramount in terms of living a happy, fulfilling life. And so if anyone is putting other things before themselves and their health, I know that that's out of alignment, because they can't be a great mom or a great dad. They can't be a great entrepreneur. They can't, provide for their family. They can't really do the things they want to do with joy and ease and happiness. And I believe that's the state we're all meant to be in. So it was coaching really that led me to that. And coaching was the thing that was able to help me target. And that's why resistance, identifying the resistance, has been so important. And, in the spiritual communities and in a lot of the life transformation movements, like, they don't want to go to the negative. They think, oh, we're not going to focus on the resistance because that's giving it energy. And I get that, and it's not like we want to dwell there, but if we don't bring attention and awareness to it, then we can't actually remove it. The first step in all of this is really gaining perspective, to be able to see oneself clearly, to be able to see the patterns that need refining in order to actually make your goal and your change happen and make it sustainable. Not just achieve it, but actually have some longevity, sustainability. Not only that, but have the regenerative nature, meaning you can inspire other people, to make those changes too, because of your courage and your commitment and your follow through. Because it's kind of a sticky topic, actually. I don't want to look at my resistance. Like, that's no fun.
Yeah.
But if we can just look at it without hooking into the story around it, then we're in a position of power to actually remove it, a position of choice, because the resistance is oftentimes there. And so today, what I wanted to start with was, and I just want to go back before I start into that. Once and for all is intentional. Because you're right. Right now is when people have fallen off the wagon. They're like, oh, forget it. 2021 is going to be another year like 2020. And it's no, it doesn't have to be that way. Your bones are constantly changing. If you have an injury, your tissue is constantly rejuvenating and regenerating. Your brain is renewing itself. Everything in your body is constantly dying and being reborn. And so the opportunity is every day, every thought, every bite, every step. So we have worked on what our goals are for those of you who have joined us in the past and who are listening to this either now or re-listening to it, after it's recorded. And if you haven't defined your goal yet, I just want you to now hold your goal or your goals in mind. What are they? What are the things that you're working towards? My biggest goal that I shared was about being in the present moment. And boy, is that a big ask. And the work is real for me around that. I know it sounds so simple, but it's requiring me to really have agility in the moment, to take the past and the future out, and to stay present. And when I do, it's incredible. And so I'm just practicing. But what is your goal? Maybe it's a weight loss goal. We had someone on the call last time who had a weight loss goal. So it just depends on where you are. Maybe it's a career goal. Whatever it is, I want you to hold that into your mind. Maybe even write it down to refresh yourself, to just have it written down, thinking, writing. And if anyone's on the call today that would like to share their goal with us, that would be even better, if you want to share it.
Well, I will share mine because I hope I look better for it. When I looked at the recording of when we were on the call last, I thought, gosh, you look so tired, Dawn. And of course, my topic was sleeping better, wasn't it?
Right.
So I've been wanting to tell you that since our last session, and I'm a night owl, and I said to you I was super energized, like the Duracell bunny at 2 o'clock in the morning. I have been turning the TV off, so it's kind of impacted my whole life because I've had to finish work earlier so that I have my evening. So instead of staying in my office until 9 o'clock and then going and watching a movie until midnight and then coming back to check my emails, I'm having to be disciplined about turning off my laptop at a sensible time so that I've got a couple of hours downtime so that I can turn off everything downstairs at 9 o'clock in order to be in bed for 10 o'clock. And I've been so tired, but I'm actually waking up in the morning feeling better without that sort of sleep hangover.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, it's not perfect. There have been at least, well, we had our call 3 or 4 weeks ago. There's been at least 7 or 8, 9 nights where I have lain awake until 2 in the morning. But I have had some nights, like last night, I've been having a sauna late at night. I've been having a bath late at night, and I have gone to sleep easier. And I think if I can just get past that 21 days where people tend to lose that consistency and sustain it, I will feel better and healthier. And of course, it's going to help with my weight management as well.
Absolutely. It's incredible how it affects the metabolism. This is incredible, Dawn. I'm like completely like in awe. It's wonderful to hear. And
I had a choice, didn't I? I said to you, I can just accept that I'm somebody who doesn't need as much sleep as other people because I'm not grumpy or anything. But by having it as a goal, I started to notice in the evening that I am tired. It's just that I normally override it. And then I have to wait for my second wind, which might be 2 in the morning. But by saying to my husband, actually, I know it's only 8 o'clock, but let's start winding up. I'm tired. Let's go to bed and read. Or let's go and have a sauna because that will help me sleep. I have actually had quite a bit of extra sleep, in that crucial time, not in between 10 and 12, but certainly the 12 till 2. I've been asleep most nights, which is amazing.
Oh, it is amazing. It's incredible. And it took a lot of willpower for you to do that. And as your circadian rhythms shift, it should help a lot. There's a recommendation I have for you, but I'll talk to you about that another time as well. That can help. It's really an extraordinary thing. Anyway, but that's wonderful. And I too do sauna in the evening and the bath. It really helps the nervous system to just. It's incredible. Wow, this is so exciting. Well, it sounds like you are following through on your goal. For those of you who might be struggling to achieve your goal, oftentimes it's because we have some resistance. We have some resistance around what's happening. And so oftentimes also there's a default commitment versus a commitment. So I wanted to address that during this call today, because what you're committed to, like, let's just say I'm committed to losing 20 pounds. And unfortunately, in the evening, I'm still eating like at 8 or 9 o'clock. I'm eating ice cream or popcorn, or whatever, even if it's healthy. I'm still, doing those things or having those behaviors that are working against my weight loss goal. And so when I look at someone like from a distance, I'll say, well, I know you're committed to losing weight. Doing the exercise and during the day, you seem to be on track, but then it's like at 8 o'clock, you tend to do things that either maintain or have you gain weight every week. So what I see is the action of a default commitment versus what someone's committed to. And so it's really important that we take an honest look at ourselves and our lives. Sometimes for me, in my present moment practice this year, I will get hooked into a story. For example, a story around failure, like this isn't possible. Which is not really what I'm committed to. I'm not committed to impossibility. I'm not committed to limitation. But I have these experiences that are informing my present moment that are causing me to doubt or giving me a negative spin on any given situation. And that's not okay, right? So I have to kind of catch myself, because actually I'm committed to the present moment. I'm committed to moving forward in my life with velocity, yet I'm hooking into a story that's not true. And so for me, that's the default commitment. So I have to be extra vigilant around, keeping myself unhooked, so to say. And that's a more nuanced practice, right? It's a little bit easier when we're talking about a goal that's more tangible, like weight loss, which is a common goal for many of us, or even just having more energy or waking up vibrant. What does that require? And so when your goal is aligned with your priorities and purpose, which is what we discussed on our last call, making sure that your goal is actually one that's really, you, and you're not doing this thing for somebody else, for example, or you're not doing it for another reason. It's important to look at what you're committed to in achieving your goal and look honestly at your life right now. And you did, Dawn. You were like, I need to stop work earlier because I need some me time. And I have to say that I've worked with a lot of very successful doctors and women entrepreneurs in the health field. And what's so ironic is that they run themselves ragged. And I'm talking about like top doctors at Johns Hopkins University Hospital. And unfortunately, their health is failing. And the main thing is they don't have enough me time. And then they're just sabotaging their health like crazy because they just sleep and work and that's it. They barely even have time to eat. And so the me time was brilliant, that you're like, I need this time to just decompress, enjoy, cook, whatever it is that you do. So that was really smart of you. You made the decision, I'm going to stop work earlier so I can have me time. Most people won't even prioritize themselves. But I can't overemphasize enough how important it is to have me time, whether you're in a romantic relationship or not, whether you're a parent or not, especially if you're a single parent. We have to have a little bit of me time. We have to attend to ourselves. I work with women almost exclusively. And when I ask them how they really are, almost 100% of the time, they don't know, because they're always tending to others. And that is an important indication around achieving our goals and not just white knuckling it, because that's not going to get us very far. That's going to get us, it's like a bankrupt concept to achieve your goals through willpower. So I see that you've joined us there.
Yeah. Hi, Nina.
Really?
Hey. We are welcome to put your video on. There's a saying, isn't there, Jennifer, that something like achieving the body you want is 30% willpower and 70% psychology and mindset.
Yes.
Which I find quite interesting.
It is. You do need a little bit of willpower, and I have more than the average person.
But it will only
but I
take you
have to
so
say
far,
that
won't it?
it does, and it's really, and this is going to sound so cliche, but it's really about self-love. It's really about how deeply you can accept and love yourself. And that is really challenging, because oftentimes we're using the inner critic to move ourselves forward. It's almost the friction that we press up against to move forward. And it's a very disempowering concept to gain velocity through I am not enough, so I have to be better than, as opposed to I love myself enough and I'm committed to loving and accepting myself enough that I'm going to feel good in my body. I'm going to feel good and comfortable in my skin. This is my home. This is all that matters. So we're talking about commitments. Maybe, I don't know if you wanted to share something that you have a goal that you have that you want to share. You don't have to, but I just wanted to invite you to share with us.
Hello. It's
Hi.
Yeah, I do actually. I've just been newly diagnosed with an underactive thyroid. So I've just been trying to work out how to adapt and learn about the thyroid, because it completely got caught off guard. I thought I was going through pre-menopause, and I suppose all the symptoms seemed the same. They were so similar that so I spent probably a good year thinking that's what it was, until just a couple of months ago, just through a blood test, they found it. So it's just, finding that research, and just I'm sorry I got a little bit late on your session, but I did hear about the me time, and so that really resonated to me, that I decided to focus in on how to heal through this and adapt and learn about the thyroid and just come to terms with what my body is actually doing.
Yeah, it's a really tricky thing with thyroid. Thank you so much for sharing that. Do you have a goal around it? I heard your goal is to learn about it, to try to manage it, to learn about.
Yeah, learn about it and how to find a balance. And I'm still find that really challenging, because I've not found it yet, because I've put on a couple of stone due to the thyroid as well. And like I said, adapting with the food and adjusting. So the goal is to just find that balance, and I just haven't found it yet.
Oh, it's so tricky. Underactive thyroid is really, it's kind of a relief when you find out that it wasn't like the food you were eating. It was just your thyroid that wasn't working well. I don't know about you, but when I found out mine was a little bit underactive, I was like, oh, that's why. Okay, I'm doing everything right.
Yeah, it did give me that little bit of comfort. Okay, because you feel like you're eating really sensibly. You've changed your diet so many times. I tried so many different things. So, I just felt, as much as I felt connected with my body, because obviously my body was telling me something's wrong, but I felt a disconnect as well. Yeah. That I don't know my body anymore. I just don't know how to lose weight anymore. I just don't know what food is suiting it anymore. I just felt, like I said, really connected, and then really disconnected as well. It's really a really bizarre feeling.
Yeah, thyroid problems are becoming more and more of an issue for us, and it's really challenging because Western medicine doesn't seem to have solutions that are viable. They're very limited in what they can offer you. They can offer you medication, and maybe they have.
Yes.
And perhaps you're taking that medication to help stabilize it, but unfortunately they don't. It seems like, from my understanding, and I have a few family members who have a kind of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, who also have hyperactive thyroid, and also a family member that has hypoactive. So I've been very involved, and then we work, of course, with a lot of people, around this. I'm not a hormone expert, but if it would be helpful, I could share a few things with you.
Love that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we have a little bit of time today. And, today we're talking about, specifically what needs to change in order for things to go differently in our lives. And part of this is defining our resistance to achieving our health goals. And so this is a little bit of a sidebar. And I'm going to come back to what needs to change in order for things to go differently. But the thyroid, it seems the people who understand the endocrine system the best seem to be the Chinese, the medical system of China, traditional Chinese medicine, TCM. That has been the biggest success that I've seen. A really good Chinese doctor seems to know how to balance the thyroid in a way that is profound, but it does take consistency and an investment of time and money to see someone for acupuncture sessions, for the herbs that they offer. But it is quite, stunning. There are some implications of long-term pharmaceutical medication, for the thyroid. So that, not that you shouldn't take it, but that that while you're taking it, you may be able to find ways to balance it. And it's something that, of course, you have to follow, like every 3 to 6 months, see what's working, what's not working, and you have to do that through blood. There's really no other way that I know of, because your blood will never lie. Tibetan medicine also has some very interesting things because they talk about the thyroid actually dropping and how it's related to the root of your tongue. So they actually do a lot of tongue exercises. I know it sounds strange, but they actually have you, lifting the tongue, expanding the jaw, and activating the thyroid. Whereas also Ayurvedic medicine is showing, backward bends in the yoga practice. It's showing ways to activate and lift the thyroid because apparently it kind of, I don't want to say sags, but it kind of drops when it gets low, and we have to continually, work to lift it. And these are all so alternative. I mean, it's so strange to think about, but I have to say it's really helped me. I was monitoring my thyroid, and it was getting low, and I did these things, and they actually, when they went back for the blood work, it was showing that it was completely coming back up. So I know that they work in my own personal experience with a tendency towards hypothyroidism. But it is a tricky thing, and you've got to stay on it. So it's a great teacher. It's a great teacher because it's linked to your metabolism, it's linked to your belief system, and it's linked to to your longevity. And it's like once you master it, it's a real mastery. Hopefully you have a great doctor that you're working with. I know of one in Annapolis who's a Harvard and Hopkins graduate medical doctor, has 2 doctorates, one in urology, the other in endocrinology, 2 medical doctorates. And he's the best person I know to help with these kinds of things because, he's just brilliant.
What about food, Jennifer?
Yeah, I mean, the hypoactive thyroid, at Hippocrates, we do have some success with people on a plant-based diet, cleansing toxins from their system. But it's more integrated than that because we also use the far infrared, which helps with circulation. So far infrared saunas or a far infrared kind of mat that you could be on. This also helps with circulation and the detoxification of the body. So if you are eating a lot of concentrated foods such as flour, breads, pastas, baked goods, or if you're eating sugar, alcohol, and non-organic food, all of these things can start to impact the balance of the endocrine system because the herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides found on non-organic food can really cause endocrine imbalances over time. Even the plastics, food wrapped in plastic, can even cause disruptions in the functioning of the thyroid. So the thyroid's very sensitive, but it's the messenger. It's the messenger. So this is the messenger. So I keep repeating that because you've got the pineal and the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus in the brain, and they're receiving information, but it's this thyroid that's telling the body what to do. So it's really important to gain clarity and to start, really breathing deeply and tuning in to what it is you're here for, why you're doing what you're doing. And in order for this to be clear, we have to also clear the toxins that might have been building up over time. And when we reach our mid 40s and 50s, it really does catch up with us. And it's important maybe to go a level deeper, even with large intestine detoxification, whether you do enemas or colon hydrotherapy. There's a lot of different options on what you can do using activated charcoal or some other things to really start to fundamentally clean up the gut. You know, eating animal products can make the gut sluggish and the liver congested. So it's really important to lighten up and eat a lot of, you know, plant-based foods. And there are hormones in foods, which is so interesting. So the more colorful your plate can be, the more abundant fiber and vegetables you can have will definitely help your process, your body to liberate its own healing. And that's what we notice when we work with, I work with clients, but it usually takes, you know, 3-6 months before you start to see a big change as the body slowly releases those toxins through the, you know, sweat and the urine and the feces. And you start to see a huge uplift, especially when you focus on the liver. And the medical medium actually, you know, I didn't really believe in his, you know, I didn't really know much about him, but I kept hearing my friends who had Graves' disease and other thyroid issues they could not get solutions for. And I started listening to his podcasts, and I was shocked at how aligned what he's suggesting is with what I know about health and well-being and longevity. And I have to say, he's got some very viable solutions for dietary recommendations to help balance your thyroid. It's pretty shocking how accurate and how helpful his suggestions are. So it's the medical medium, and he's really on point, I have to say.
I've actually invested in his book, and I have listened to a few talks that he done. So it's interesting that I come across him in December, and I got diagnosed at the end of December. So it's interesting how, I just feel like I'm really blessed the ways things come my way quite easily, that I, you know, had that, you know, input from him. So I'd already started the celery juicing because I know he's really big on that anyway. And then invested in, as soon as I found out about the thyroid, then I invested in, because there's not that much healthy sort of holistic options out there. So it's interesting you said about the Chinese, that because that was my next stage, because it's like, it is overwhelming because you're trying to do all different things, and I'm sort of doing them one at a time. So just about adjusted with the food, like giving up caffeine, and like you said, eating more plant-based. And he's got a beautiful big picture of the artichoke at the front of his book, which I actually didn't even eat that much, and now just introduced it into my diet now. And I've also read a Sarah Gottfried, where she does a 21-day reset for hormones. So
Beautiful.
that was interesting for me as well. And I just did that anyway in December, still not knowing about the thyroid. So it gave me a little bit of a kickstart into finding out about foods and different herbal teas and things of that nature. So
that's beautiful. I do want to also mention
really
that
lucky.
the thyroid, you are really lucky.
I am really lucky.
I do also want to mention that I think, and they haven't conclusively decided this medically, like in the medical research, but there are a lot of indications at this time that all of the electrical radiation impacts our thyroid. And so if you have your phone on you a lot, or you're in front of the computer a lot, you may want to start to figure out ways to use blue light protectors for your eyes so that the energy isn't going in. Maybe even wear some kind of protected stone. There's all these different ways to either reorganize the scalar waves that are coming at you from the 5G or 3G or whatever area you're in, and also to deflect. Like on my phone, I have like a little thing. On my computer, I have a little thing. And then I also have things on this level that I'm sitting on, that my feet are on, to help to get the radiation and the positive ions. They're also positive ions that you're accumulating. If your body doesn't have a way to get those out, like literally, and I know this is going to sound strange, but it's actually true, getting your bare feet on the ground, or even touching the earth with your hand, it actually takes the radiation out of your body, as does eating sea vegetables like algae and different algae like dulse, which we don't do so much in this country. It's more of a Japanese, Chinese thing. But, you know, including different types of dulse in moderation can help. Iodine is tricky with thyroid health, but getting your bare skin on the earth is really important, and making sure that you're not sleeping near a lot of electronics. That's really important. Turning your Wi-Fi off at night if you can, turning all the devices off, making sure they're out of the bedroom, reducing your amount of time in front of you know, blue light radiating antennas, which our devices are. They're basically antennas. And apparently the thyroid is absorbing a lot of this electromagnetic radiation, and it's causing a disruption. There is historically never been so many cases of Hashimoto's thyroiditis and hypoactive thyroidism ever known. And I believe it's correlated to, you know, our use of devices, which are amazing. I love having devices and access and being able to do this talk right now. Because there's a device. But really start, if you have a smart meter close by, move. I'm actually not kidding. Like, you really need to be aware of like where the electricity is coming into your home, because that's a hot spot. Like, people who have thyroid issues who really pay attention to this is another big key element, as well as chlorine. Make sure that your water in your shower and bath and your drinking water is non-chlorinated. Chlorine disrupts the thyroid massively. Some people are more sensitive to it than others, but I do think those are two areas that you could look at in your home.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
There's a great book, Naila, you can read on getting grounded, and it's just simply called Earthing.
What's it called? Sorry.
Earthing.
Earthing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, they have sheets you can get. I still have them. I don't use them currently, but yeah, and they have devices you can put under your feet when you're on a device. Even stickers that you can just plug into the grounding unit. I mean, lots of great things. That was a great book. I'm so, like, you know about that book. Not many people know about that book, Dawn.
I've got the blanket, the floor mat, the mouse mat.
Me too.
I mean, I don't know if any of it works, but I'm not taking the chance. I don't understand the science behind it, but, you know, if I can afford to buy these things, I'm having them.
Science behind it is that they measure it. They measure your negative and positive ions when you're on the earth. It diffuses. If you can't get to the earth because it's too cold, you use a grounding mat.
And I've got pluggies, because obviously we don't have a lot of good weather here. So pluggies are flip-flops with an earthing plug in them. So it's too cold to walk on the floor.
That's too funny.
But I love them. So yeah, I've seen David Wolf's demonstration of him on the laptop with his earthing mat versus no earthing mat. And, you know, the graph was going like that. But that's what I mean by, you know, like, I know don't need to know how the TV works. I just know that it does. But so yeah, that's very interesting. And also there's you know, Q links and all sorts of pieces of jewelry. I think Hippocrates have one as well. I wonder if you actually wore your pendant. I mean, I wear my Q-tip here down here, but I wonder if you actually wore it over the thyroid, whether that would make any added benefit.
I'm sure it would. You know, sometimes women are also putting lead in their scarves. They're starting to sell now scarves with lead in it to, like, completely protect and block EMFs from getting in. So yeah, so I know Western medicine, unfortunately, is just so limited on what they can offer you in their understanding of the endocrine system, let alone the thyroid. They're really isolated in their approach, whereas Chinese medicine is looking at the whole system, and it's really helpful. And it's kind of uncomfortable. Whenever I go, he always, like, sticks a needle, like, right in there, and I'm like, oh, this is just, but he's activating it because he knows it has a tendency to be sluggish. So I have to constantly be working, you know, to kind of lift it up, you know.
Yeah. Where is your Chinese doctor based? Sorry, if that's okay.
Well, Los Angeles, but you have to just kind of look around in your area to see if there's someone who's really skilled in TCM, traditional Chinese medicine.
Where are you based, Naila?
I'm in Canary Wharf, London.
Well, you're going to have some excellent resources there. I was just going to recommend somebody endorse it, but you will have excellent resources in London.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'll have a look into that actually.
Yeah, I'd like to really like someone who, like, for example, the gentleman, always the acupuncturists that I find usually have parents who were acupuncturists and lived in China, speak Chinese, learned acupuncture in China. You know, I tend to steer clear of people who have really fancy offices and, you know, learned acupuncture from an American. And this is really racist what I'm saying, but I have to say that, and I could be totally wrong, but I really, I find that, you know, I've been to a lot of different acupuncturists literally all over the world. And the best results I've gotten are from people who understand Chinese medicine deeply, meaning they were raised with it. And you know, when they got sick, either grandmother pulled some herbs from the garden, you know, and made a tea. And their bellyache went away. Like it started then. But you know, I could be totally wrong. But
I've heard that with the Ayurvedics as well. You know, don't go to a Westerner who's learnt it. You want to go to an Indian practitioner who's been steeped in that culture, whose parents gave them the practice and so on. That's when you really make a big difference. So I've heard the same thing there.
Yeah, it's been my experience because it's so integrated. It's so deep. Anyway, go ahead.
But you made a lovely point actually, that the Chinese do look at the overall body. They just like Western medicine just hone in on the one thing, whereas the Chinese, they look at the overall. And it's lovely that you've reminded me that, because I've always resorted to turning to Chinese medicine. So it looks like I'll have to investigate that for the thyroid for sure.
Yeah, it's a long-term commitment. It really is, but it's one that I think will pay off because, you know, the medication may help, but wouldn't it be wonderful if you could find ways to maintain its balance, you know, with the use of natural methods. Just, you know, unfortunately, my sister's been on thyroid medication and she developed cancer, and, you know, they linked it to the medication, and she has to be on the medication because she doesn't have a thyroid anymore. And, you know, it's just so tricky. It's such a tricky thing. So it's a good thing you're interested in learning, because there's so much to learn.
Yeah, I know. I just feel that it's becoming a bit of a journey now for me, because the fatigue that set in with having this thyroid has changed. It's changed me a lot. It's been quite overwhelming actually these last 3-4 months, and the whole year of knowing that, you know, trying to, as women, as we all women do, we bulldoze through everything. Like we say, no, we're not tired, we can do this, and we carry on. But it's definitely taken its toll on me for sure. So I'm definitely taking time out to just work this out now. So I am quite committed, and I'm enjoying the process actually.
That's great. Yeah, if you can find a wonderful yoga teacher, they also may know, like Iyengar yoga, you oftentimes know about how to balance the thyroid in a balanced yoga practice. And there's even pranayama techniques that can help stimulate the thyroid. But you have to find a teacher who's really advanced, who understands thyroid health. I don't usually teach people yoga anymore, but I'm a practitioner now for 27 years, and I'm steeped in yoga therapy, and I know it's possible to really help yourself through physical movement that's restorative, because the fatigue that you're describing is real, and we have to push through it to a certain degree in order to kind of lift, right? Can you think about it? We have to keep lifting this thyroid, because it's sluggish, you know, and it's slowing everything down. And it's a really tricky process, but you may be able to find an experienced teacher in the Iyengar method who knows about yoga therapy and thyroid balance and health.
Lovely, thank you.
You're highly motivated, Naila. You've got every reason to, you know, be on this journey and learn from it, and you've got a positive attitude. But As you said, Jennifer, a lot of people are struggling, 10 weeks into the year with the resistance. And I remember somebody saying that we're genetically programmed to resist change, and that's why a change imposed is a change opposed. But recently I read that that's a myth. What's your take on it?
I think that change is uncomfortable for humans. And the more I observe human behavior, the more I notice the resistance to change. And it's so ironic because our hearts are calling out for things to go differently because there's unhappiness or there's a longing or there's something that just doesn't feel right. And oftentimes that's why we set a goal. It's like, well, I'm earning this much today, but I'd really like to earn, this much tomorrow or next week or next year, because they need things that they can't afford. Or, I'm waking up tired and I think that something might need to change because this doesn't feel good. I need to drink less alcohol in the evening. Or, I've been drinking 8 to 10 coffees a day, that can't be good for me. People just know somewhere in their cells, in their heart, they know that they need to change, but doing it is so uncomfortable. And I think it's our innate human nature that we avoid discomfort. And we do things that keep us safe and comfortable, especially, women, also men, but they definitely, oftentimes men have a higher risk tolerance, and they're willing to kind of get uncomfortable more so than women, statistically speaking. But we have to confront our resistance to change. And I loved your quote that you said, and I also, want to challenge it, but it does take a bit of, the Yiddish word is coming, like chutzpah, it takes like a bit of, effort. And I don't want to say willpower because it's something more than that. It's like enough already. It's like, I've got to just do something differently, because if we want things to go differently, we have to do something different. And that can be uncomfortable. Giving up sugar is uncomfortable. You feel kind of crappy for a few days, but oh boy, on the other side of that, you're going to feel amazing, liberated energy, and you won't have those addictive cycles anymore. Giving up caffeine, you'll have an excruciating headache, but then you won't be addicted anymore. Those neurotoxins will leave your body and you will be free of that addiction. It's uncomfortable starting to exercise. Especially if you've got some weight to lose and you're out of shape. It is, your heart is beating, you're sweating, you feel clammy, sometimes you feel like you might even pass out. I mean, it's hard and it's really uncomfortable, but oh my gosh, if you can just stick with it, you are going to have more strength and agility. Walking up the steps is going to be easier. Sitting down and getting up is going to be easier. You're going to feel more energized. You're going to sleep better. There's so many benefits, right? But changing just that little, it can be uncomfortable. Can you guys relate to this at all?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Just like you said, like with this thyroid, I get a lot of aches and pains, and I was my sister's had underactive thyroid for about 20 years. So although whenever I do speak to her, the topic is about the thyroid, because I obviously want to learn what she did, but I think maybe there wasn't enough information or whatever, but I think for the last 15 years, she didn't bother about it too much. She tried, but like you said, it's a difficult one because even I find it like I've cut back on the sugar, caffeine, dairy, and you think, okay, now the weight's going to fall off. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing happens. Intermediate fasting, done everything. And so she was the same. So I could understand how she felt, because you get demotivated, I think, when you're trying so hard and nothing happens. It's really demotivating. And then with the aches and pains as well, when she said to me, yeah, I've had the aches never go away, then I thought, that's it. I have to start exercising a lot more. So I'm trying to do the couch to 5K, learning how to run again, because I haven't.
I love that. It's a great app.
Yeah, I thought I'd try that. I thought, that's it. There's no point waiting for this fatigue or waiting for the tablet to work or waiting. I might as well just push through and see how I get on. So it's almost a painful experience as well at the same time, which isn't great.
Absolutely. Because it's like defeating, you know, at least the results keep you going and motivated. And this is a time where you're going to have massive belief that your body can restore itself, that your thyroid can increase its functioning and balance will be restored. And that all these things that you're doing, even though you're not seeing the results directly like you used to, they're all cumulative and they all will help. I can guarantee it. I mean, that can only help to reduce and eliminate sugar, reduce and eliminate caffeine, reduce and eliminate dairy, especially dairy. Dairy is what an animal products as a whole. The hormones in dairy are really destabilizing for your endocrine system, and then the buildup of those hormones, and then the detox of those hormones. You know, it complicates things massively. So so you have to trust, and that's so tricky, right? Because you're not seeing the results.
And I feel like the last few, listening to Anthony Williams on a few talks and podcasts and things that he's put out there, one of the points that he made, that your body is on your side. And I feel like when you're going through this process, I feel we forget that, and that's what's helped me to want to even do the 5K, that, you know what, my body will help me in the end. It's helping me realize that I've got something going on with me. So that helps me a lot, to think in the background, my body will help me through this.
That's so beautiful. And it's really important, and that's part of our talk today, is about looking at the resistance. How do we, and I use the word confront our resistance, because sometimes we have to actually be like, okay, lay it out on the table. Like, what's really going on here? You know, what am I committed to? What am I actually doing? Okay, is that a reflection of what I'm actually committed to? And if it's not, if that's your default commitment, not you, but anyone, versus your true commitment, the real commitment that's aligned with your goal, you have to look at the gap. There's almost always a gap. If a goal isn't getting achieved, or it's not getting achieved quickly enough, there's always a gap between what you're actually committed to, what we see happening, what you see happening in your life through honest reflection, putting it out on the table, and then what you really want to create. And there's always that gap in between. And if we can look at that gap between the default commitment and the actual commitment, then we have some traction. To accept, forgive, and love ourselves, and decide to take correct action. You know, because our lives and our bodies are really resilient, actually. And all it takes is just to get realigned, and it's like, this is my life, this is my choice, and I get to choose to take some actions today that are going to bring me closer to my goal. And we have to trust that it's going to happen. And then sometimes that gap is filled with a ton of resistance. Oftentimes, most of the time, it's because, you know, there's a false belief system in there about worth, self-worth, or there's a faulty belief system about failure, which is my case, right? As I shared earlier. So there's all these different aspects that come into the gap. But as we address the gap, that's when you create the sustainable change. And when you get really honest with yourself in a loving way, not in like, you're bad and you're wrong.
That's right. Because you have to go through that as well. I think you do go through that as well, that, you know, because you feel such a disconnect. So there is that little bit of pent up anger and frustration. You can't help it.
Right. And it's there, and honesty about it is great, I think, instead of the shame blame cycle that oftentimes is so predominant. And I actually been using my exercise these days to address it. You know, literally shake it out, or, you know, sound it out, or, you know, I've really been finding that to be a more effective way of moving frustration and anger out of my body. Identifying it, you know, intellectually, but also, okay, where does it live in my body, and how can I move it out? Because I believe that emotions are energy in motion. It's just energy. Emotions are energy in motion. And I believe that when I go through my body, experience has shown me that it's much more effective than going to it through my mind, going into it in my mind.
I love that. Emotion is energy in motion.
Yeah. And when we don't move it, However we decide to move it, with the breath, with any process that works for you, it gets stuck. And stagnation always breeds dis-ease. And I use that in the literal sense, right? Dis-ease, some ease that isn't there, the absence of ease, which also happens to be disease. Could be, you know, a cancer, right? It could be something else, but we have to move, we have to move it. And that can be, like I said, through the breath. It could be through some other process, some kind of exercise that you go through intellectually. It could be a meditation. It could be, for me right now, it's actually, you know, moving through dance and music and sound. So it just depends on, you know, what works for you.
Sorry, did you, I'm not sure, but did you say that you've got an underactive thyroid as well?
Mine tends to go in that direction, and I'm constantly working to keep it on the upswing through these practices that I'm sharing with you, such as at the acupuncture, hyper vigilance around electromagnetic radiation, making sure that I'm getting my bare skin on the earth as frequently as possible, frequent acupuncture sessions, taking a variety of Chinese herbs that help to balance the thyroid, staying on my, you know, living foods diet, my plant-based diet, getting adequate sleep, completely eradicating sugar, flour, alcohol, nicotine, caffeine from my life. You know, so there's, you know, I just have to, I'm just trying to stay on it. Far infrared saunas, you know, exercise. And I do some of these Tibetan medicine techniques. I should do them more often. I'm glad I'm talking about it. It's a great reminder for me, with the tongue and the mouth, you know, lifting the thyroid. And of course I have my, I do not daily, but I practice yoga about 4 or 5 times a week.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. Absolutely. There's also a 7-day lifestyle plan that might interest you, with some great recipes on my website. It's jennifer-helene.com. And that might be fun for you to download and just have some more ideas that might inspire you for some food and lifestyle practices. So that's available to you for free if you're interested in downloading that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Thank you. I'll definitely look into that.
Because it's got to be fun. If it's not fun and delicious and exciting, it just won't last either. And
that is true as well.
And that's the real commitment.
But it's introducing different foods, like I said, with the artichoke. I mean, every now and then I've come across it, but I've never, you know, maybe in a restaurant or something, that I've never cooked it or never really used it that much. So it's interesting now that I'm learning about how to. I haven't cooked an artichoke yet. I haven't had the courage to do that as yet, but I'm definitely buying, you know, the ones that are pickled in a sense, or and people seem to use that, and also just like when you buy the section when you go to get like olives or, you know, hummus or anything, they have it there. So I was quite surprised, whereas I never noticed it before. I'm noticing it quite a lot now. It's everywhere.
Oh my gosh, you can make dips and burgers and all kinds of delicious things with artichoke.
So I'm looking forward to learning that. I'm looking forward to learning that.
I have 12 artichoke plants. Go ahead.
Have you?
Yeah, they're crazy. They're growing like crazy. I should send you a picture of them.
Beautiful.
I'd love that. That's fantastic. That is amazing if you can grow your own.
They're beautiful big flowers. So. Beautiful big flowers. We didn't eat ours this year because they're just too pretty to look at.
I left a few to bloom as well.
I think I've cut out everything except chicken. Chicken is the one that I'm still trying to come round. I'm trying not to eat it every day, but chicken and fish I haven't given up as such yet.
Well, I think satisfaction is a big issue, and it's important to find foods that are really satisfying. So eating whole grains like quinoa, considering the nuts and seeds, making pâtés out of those, so you really feel satisfied. I think cauliflower and squash are two of the most satisfying vegetables that I know, that really make me feel like, oof, really like, wow, that's filling, you know. I think it's really important to find satisfying dishes, especially if you want to transition off of a meat centric, not centric, but like if you want to transition off meat, it's really important to make sure you get that level of satisfaction as you transition. There's all kinds of lentil pastas as well these days, and interesting alternatives.
I've come across that. Yeah.
You want to steer clear of brown rice, but
yeah, no, there's an amazing amount of alternatives out there for sure. Like I've made pasta which is made out of peas and lentils. I didn't even know these things were out there, so it's been exciting. It's exciting actually.
And so for everyone who's listening on this call, the goal today in our talk is really about defining your goal, of course, first and foremost, and then looking at where you are through an honest lens of, you know, I'm not worthy, not that lens, the lens of it's okay, this is where I am. And I love and forgive myself enough to be able to honestly reflect on where I am and where I want to be and what needs to change in order for me to get there. And defining that resistance and breathing into it and looking at it, because it's usually not about the time or the money or a lot of people, and you're not in this place, but you know, a lot of people are resisting just new foods, trying new things, taking the time to look at labels at the grocery store or buy different ingredients. But understand that as we change the patterns in our life, we're changing the patterns in our mind. First, we make the choice to make the change. And then we have a whole new set of neurons in our brains that are wiring and firing together that are going to create new pathways. And then those pathways manifest in, you know, not necessarily going into the prepared food section, but going into the produce section at the grocery store, or a new pathway that you walk with your feet, going to exercise in the morning instead of sitting down and watching YouTube, or whatever it is. Like the little changes that cumulatively add up and help you to reach your goals and achieve the things that you want to, that help build your confidence and ever increase your self-love and forgiveness. And that is the key to sustainable change, that once and for all change that I'm so committed to and motivated by.
And that will help us love the life we're living and live the life we love with longevity.
Yes. So beautifully said.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer. It's been an absolute pleasure as usual. Our next session, the fourth in this 5-part series, is on the 7th of April, same time. So we look forward to hearing more wisdom and having another discussion with you then. But thank you. Lovely.
My pleasure. Be
well. Thank you for your
everyone.
contribution, everybody, and enjoy the recording. See you next month. Take care and stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.